All right, and we are live. Welcome to the DoorGrow show, DoorGrow Hackers. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase your revenue, help others, impact lives, and you are interested in growing your business and life, and you are open to doing things a bit differently, then you are a DoorGrow hacker. So DoorGrow hackers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not, because you realize that property management is the ultimate high trust gateway to real estate deals, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management businesses and their owners. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property managers win. I'm your host, property management growth hacker Jason Hull, the founder of Open Potion, Gather Kudos, Thunder Local, and of course, DoorGrow. Now let's get into the show. So I'm here hanging out with Todd Breen today of Virtually Incredible, and we're going to be talking about how to spend less time leasing so that you can make more money and grow your business. And so Todd, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jason. Good to be here.
So Todd, give us a little bit of background on yourself and how you got started with Virtually Incredible. And then I have a bunch of questions that I want to ask you to really dig into this.
You got it. So I grew up in a real estate family, and that put me into property management at the age of 21 because my dad had 55 rental homes, and managed property with a management company for years. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I decided to open an outsourcing solution, and that outsourcing solution was designed to help property managers with things that I outsourced with. And so I've been scaling that, and it's virtually incredible. Still have my management company, and it's fun hanging out with you and a lot of other property management company owners.
Awesome. And so let's talk about the problem that exists with leasing, because I think people need to understand that, what the problem is, and then let's or maybe we should get into the why behind this. Well, let's talk about the problems first. So what are some of the problems that business owners have in terms of growth relevant to leasing?
Well, so it's interesting. If you go to the average property management company, they devote an enormous amount of resources to leasing properties. And in contrast, they devote very slim resources to answering the phone when an owner calls to sign up new listings. And so I decided that if we could do something to reverse that trend and put less effort into leasing, that we could put more into listing. And it's kind of cool because a lot of the people who have done that have reported that they freed up a lot of energy to begin growing their company.
So one of the big problems or challenges that they might have relevant to growth then is and we talked about this before, but one is they don't have a BDM or somebody focused directly on sales. And then they themselves don't have the time to focus as much on sales because they're dealing with all this kind of stuff. And so could you explain how what the problem is with the traditional model and what that traditional model typically looks like?
Yeah. So, I've done this for 30 plus years, and the average property management company has a leasing agent or two or some staff of leasing agents, and they don't have a BDM, a business development manager. I've spoken on 7 tours of Australia to a lot of Australian business property management company owners, and they are just nutty about having a BDM. Guys with 50 or 100 doors just starting out, they have a BDM because they know that if they do that, they're going to grow. And so one of the things that we've done is we've really gone into the leasing process and analyzed it and then changed it. So let's start with the analysis. And if you're listening to this interview, do this in your head. For every 100 leasing calls and emails you get, how many leases do you write? Take a minute, just answer that question. Because most people, if you're like most companies, you'll say, maybe 1 or 2. So that's 1 or 2% of your leasing increase, whether it's an email or a phone call, that results in you monetizing that event. Now, in contrast, how good a job are you doing at marketing your company and answering the phone and listing new business? If we called your business and mystery shopped you as a tenant trying to rent a house from you, or as an owner trying to list with you, what would our experience be? And so whatever that is should give you an idea of some areas that you could improve and restructure so that you spend less time leasing your house and more time listing houses.
And so if a traditional model has leasing agents, what's the cost there that they're spending on these agents typically?
So it varies by region, but a lot of people are charging the owner a tenant placement fee and then sharing some of that with a leasing agent that's commissioned. And the result is they say, okay, now that means you got to answer the phone calls, and we'll also have some of those phone calls going to the front desk. So between a leasing agent who can only handle one call at a time, and then it goes to a front desk person who is not a leasing agent, so they're taking messages, or what happens more than we want to acknowledge, it goes to voicemail. Now you start the game of phone mail, voicemail hell and tag, and so that's the traditional model.
And so under the traditional model, it sounds like it's just incredibly inefficient and expensive. They could be, in some instances, they're probably giving up half of the fees that they're getting on through the leasing process to a leasing agent.
Yeah, and you know what? I was a leasing agent, and this is no joke. I had 4 kids growing up, varying ages, that would come along with me on showings, and I was showing houses so much. I bought a high top conversion van with the TV VCR in it so that I could bring my kids with me while I was showing. And I was thinking to myself, man, this isn't a very good life for me or them. So from a lifestyle standpoint, I was as efficient as I could be, but it was really impacting my lifestyle. What are your leasing agents, or if you're doing your own leasing, what's your lifestyle like? And if you're struggling to get things done and answering a call isn't your top priority, and booking a showing isn't something you're excited to do, and then getting the showings to happen isn't something exciting, then welcome to property management and the fact that we monetize 1 out of 100 leasing calls or inquiries, right? So we could really do that more efficiently if we wanted to.
And now the problem gets even worse, because you had mentioned to me that only a small percentage are actually, answering their leasing calls. So could you explain that? You did some mystery shopping.
So, people will say, hey, can you mystery shop my office? And I'll say, yeah, I will, but only if you promise not to, get upset with me when you see the results, because we have a little deliverable we can give. And so we'll call an office days, evenings, and weekends and just, pose as a potential renter and let you know what sort of response we get. And the average results are that we're answering the calls 50-60% during the business day, and less than that evenings and weekends. And of course, when do people really call you the most to see a house? It's evenings and weekends. So if you're going to do a good job answering days, evenings, and weekends, welcome to the 80-hour work week and you have no life.
Yeah, seriously. And so, and you had mentioned that these really don't make them money. Like it sounds like a lot of work, but if only 1 or 2% are connected or actually like coming on board, then 99% of them are just a complete financial waste of resources and time.
With very few exceptions. I know one guy in Houston that gets everybody's info and puts it in a mailing list. So he says, yeah, I could do business with him another time. And I think that's terrific. Most of us are just like, if you don't want my house, don't bother me. I'm busy, And so, we really don't need thousands of people in a CRM. And if that's the case, better to just outsource that and focus your energy on growing your business. And, the same thing happens. We mystery shop management companies routinely to pose as a potential landlord that wants to list with you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so many companies wonder why they're not growing, and it's because they're not answering those phones, or they're just really super preoccupied when they do, and it's just not a really pleasant experience for a potential landlord to call. And so we think that by specializing your and outsourcing and upgrading your technology on some of your showing process, you can devote more energy to doing a bang up job answering new owner calls.
So let's break this down. So what is the ratio typically of all the calls that are coming into a property management office that are leasing oriented, if these are the ones that aren't really making you money?
So that number is somewhere around 70%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of the phone calls they're getting are leasing related and are not connected to getting new business, not connected to owners,
And not monetizing,
and not making money.
because you're only monetizing 1 or 2% of those leasing calls or emails.
So those really are kind of like the garbage of phone calls.
Well, and yet if you don't do a good job on them, welcome
You
to a
look
long
bad.
vacancy list that's not going to fill, right? And that's another impact. People are amazed when they optimize their leasing process. They're like, "Wow, our days on market went from 21 to 13." And I'm like, "Yeah, that means that you were actually serving all of the people who were trying to rent a house from you."
Yeah, and that can really damage your reputation if you're not doing a good job. So what about, and to make this even deeper, you had mentioned that there is kind of a legal sort of issue here as well, potentially.
Yeah, so you know, does everybody who answers your leasing lines, have they been fair housing trained and certified? Do they know how to respond to the questions that could get you in trouble? And if that hasn't been scripted and trained, and the people haven't been certified, and if you're not doing quality assurance where you randomly listen to their calls, how do you know that's being handled properly? So, we've got a call center. We actually do what I just said. And I'll be honest with you, as a broker, owner of a management company for 33 years, it wasn't until I started a call center that I knew that my calls were being answered consistently according to best practices in fair housing.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of danger there, in creating a perception of discrimination or not getting back to certain people and then perceiving, oh, you didn't do it because I'm this type of person, probably,
Yeah.
et cetera. Right. And so that just by not having consistency, it can create the perception of that problem. So let's get into the reason behind this then, like the benefits. So so what are some of the most significant benefits to offloading these leasing calls?
Well, the first thing is a quiet office. And if you think about it, the average real estate or property management office, the phone rings and rings and rings. And so just having a quieter office, because approximately 7% of your calls are no longer ringing through to your office, is something that we get that feedback all the time. People are like, wow, I can't believe how quiet our office is and how much better we're getting work done with fewer disruptions. Our staff is just happier because we're not getting inundated with all these calls. So that's one benefit.
I've found in business, if I can lower the pressure and noise that an entrepreneur or a business owner experiences, their best attributes start to come out. And I've seen it in my own business. The more I can lower the pressure and noise that is around me, the more supported I feel and the more my best attributes come out. But entrepreneurs, when we're in a place of high pressure and noise, all of these crazy attributes come out that are like the worst of humanity, right? We're called ADHD, and we're called stressed and like high octane and we're just frantic and yeah.
And if you think about it, we're all professionals, and when somebody calls you without a pen, without a pad, and they have no way to write down data that you're going to give them, and then they say, "Yeah, I'm calling about the house with the red door," and you're trying to get something done to slay the dragon that day. I mean, that creates a frustration level that can reach a high point sometimes. So you're right; it does bring out some of the worst in this.
Okay. So another benefit we had discussed is not having to hire agents or far fewer agents. So where you're shelling out commissions. So Can you touch on that briefly?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're a business owner. I'm a business owner. And unless you're a business of one, then you have to be good at hiring, training, supervising, managing, motivating staff. And also you got to pay them well or they're not going to stick around, and you wonder how they're going to represent you. So anything that we can do to hand that off to somebody who's capable or competent frees up some energy, some time, some resources for us to just do the magic we do. And I personally don't enjoy hiring agents. To me, that's a challenge. You wonder, are you going to work hard? Are you going to respond to phone calls? And the new models for how to lease houses, in many cases, require little to no direct agent interaction.
Okay. So what are some other benefits that come with, why would somebody want to do this besides those things?
So, we talked about spend less time leasing and more time listing. If you could look at how much it costs you to lease a house, and when you add up commissions, staff salaries to answer phones, any mileage expenses for time it takes you to drive, your hours of work showing houses, if you could do all of that and add it up and say, okay, I did 6 leases this month and I spent this much money, so it cost me this much per lease, right? And then do that same analysis on what's your customer acquisition cost in getting a new customer here, that you can manage their house. And where would you rather invest your money? And, I've been tuned into the DoorGrow show for a long time, and I'm seeing over and over again people saying, yeehaw, I did a seed hacker and it took time, but all of a sudden, wow, look at this, man. The rain is coming. But that comes because they devote time and money and energy to the seed hacker. So that's the rub. Are you doing the best job leasing? Most of us would say maybe not. And so can we improve that and then to free up time and resources to grow our business? And that's the real benefit. Spend less time leasing and more time listing.
Love it. So how can property managers turn this then into a unique differentiator or a selling point then for their business?
I love this one. So believe it or not, my call center answers the leasing lines for a local competitor. All right. And I was having lunch with him and he said, we love your call center. And I said, yeah, I need to talk to you about that. We mystery shopped you and you told a potential owner that you were the only guys in town answering calls, leasing calls days, evening, and weekends, so they should list with you. And I was like, I'm a little hurt here because we're the ones answering your phones here, buddy. And so he was like, oh, did we say that? Yeah, we'll change that script, But when you say to somebody who's got a vacant house, hey, mystery shop us and mystery shop anyone else you're considering listing with, and see how easy it is to see a house with us compared to some of these other people you can list with. Usually that's all you have to say. They're not even going to spend the time mystery shopping, and no one else is going to throw that challenge to them. And so that's just a huge way to turn this into a point of difference that'll get you more listings.
So this powerful impact, when you issue a challenge to a sales prospect and say, just compare us to our competitor, call us tonight at 7 p.m. or call us, you had said like Sunday at 11 a.m. and call their leasing lines and call our leasing line and see who answers and figure out who's going to get the property market faster.
Yeah. And when we tell you that our days in market are 13 days and the average in the industry is 22, now you understand why. List with us,
So let's touch on that benefit. So you're cutting the days to market then by what percentage typically? Well,
it kind of depends
over the traditional model.
Company models. But if you take a normal market with the traditional model and you say, okay, we're putting showing software into place and we're putting a call center and we're answering 80 hours, we can see routinely between 25 and 50% reduction in days on market.
Wow.
And I always tell people when they sign up for all of this new stuff, I say, wait 90 days before you judge it, because
Sure.
If you compare your days on market 90 days from now, you're going to realize stuff's renting faster. And it's because we're doing a great job renting.
Which means you're going to have higher client retention, right? That's a big deal to them. You had mentioned faster leasing times, and you're going to keep more of those owners when things get rented and money is coming in. So,
yeah.
Okay. So, so another thing you touched on before is kind of a problem, potentially fair housing, having compliant staff, lowering the legal liability. So the benefit of that is getting greater peace of mind as a business owner.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I outsourced my leasing calls. It's part of the reason why I outsourced my tenant screening, because you don't typically get fair housing complaints from leased units. You get it from your vacants in the leasing process. And so, I set up a team that manages our tenant screening, and they do a great job. We do it for upwards of 100 other companies. And it just really makes me feel good knowing that every application gets treated uniformly by somebody who's got no dog in the show. What's that saying? Am I saying it wrong? No,
a dog in the fight.
Dog in the fight. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
So,
everybody's skin in the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So relevant to that, a lot of people might have this fear of handling things to an outside team. Sometimes business owners, we're control freaks. We feel like, well, if the staff's not there that I could touch them, hear what they're doing, talk to them, and that sort of thing, it might be bad, sick, or wrong somehow. So what's the flip side of that? What's the advantage then when it comes to staffing issues or whatnot of having this stuff handled by a team such as yours, as opposed to having like one person or two people in your office that are doing this?
Well, if that person is sick, then your work staff is cut by 50% or 100%.
Right.
And if that person is on vacation, if that person is having lunch or on their break or just can't get to the phone, or if they're on the phone, how do you expand your bandwidth to handle 3 or 4 simultaneous calls and do a good job? And we kind of got all that nailed down, and we rent stuff pretty quickly as a result. And we hear that from people routinely. Yeah, stuff rents quickly. Just makes you feel better. We're doing a great job.
So a quick question. So what's the percentage then typically do you find of calls that are outside of their normal business hours then?
It's really something. If you don't advertise, call our leasing hotline, which means that you have a leasing hotline, right? So you get all your calls off your main line and you get a leasing hotline. And if you say, call our leasing hotline days, evenings, and weekends, right? We answer. And if you advertise the hours that you answer, you're going to start to see that people who are flipping through vacancies and they see, oh my God, they claim to answer their phone at 7:30 p.m. I'm calling them and booking an appointment, right? And so if you do that, you're going to see an increase in after-hour calls, which increases your efficiency and reduces days on market.
So the after-hour calls will actually increase, and the daytime calls will actually decrease when people see that they can route the flow of that sort of traffic that direction.
I tell you, anybody watching this show, I want you to just think back to the last time you moved, okay? And what it was like trying to call and get people to answer your call, answer your questions, and book a showing for you. That is typically one of the worst experiences that the consumer has. When you go out of your way to say, we answer, we've got a call center, we're ready for you, we do this, you just begin the customer journey on the right foot.
Love it. Love it. All right. So I think anything else you can think of, benefits or reasons why people should consider this? Otherwise, let's get into how.
Okay, the biggest benefit is whatever you're spending in money on leasing. Can you imagine if you spent that on marketing for new owners and possibly even hiring a business development manager? Depending on the size of your business, that's an entirely realistic way to go.
Right. So you can reallocate those funds towards something that can actually help you grow your business instead of just providing fulfillment. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into how this happens, what sort of the process might be. So I think there's a few steps that need to exist in order to leverage and properly use a team like yours. So where does somebody start?
Well, so if somebody calls us up and says, "Will you answer our leasing lines?" Uh, we're going to say, "What showing software do you use?" And if they say, "Well, we don't, we don't know if we need it," then we turn around and say, "We're going to do you a favor. We're not going to answer your leasing calls until you get one, because
Okay.
you're going to reduce your number of calls with a call center, but that showing software, the tenant turner company out there that'll give you the software where a tenant can book their phone on or book their showing online, that's going to change your call volumes by around 50%.
Okay. And so we've got like Tenant Turner, Rently, Show Mojo, maybe even Knock Rentals, or some sort of system that can facilitate that. And so they need some sort of software.
Yeah. So
And does it
first
need to be
step,
on top of like Appfolio and Propertyware and Buildium?
yeah,
So they need
yeah,
something additional.
yeah. So I know that you check with your software provider if you have like Buildium. I know they just did a deep integration with Tenant Turner, so like that would be the natural one for you to look into. But whatever your software is, it's important that you get showing software, and then you get a call center such as the one Virtually Incredible offers. And a good call center. And it's important that you call them before you go up forward and you do the due diligence, because if you're getting people on the other side of the phone that aren't answering the calls well, then you really haven't improved, right? So do your due diligence. And that's been one of our strengths. We'll give you a list of some people to call, and we'll say, hey, try mystery shopping any of these companies and see how we do. And that typically closes the deal for us. But so the first thing you do is get software. Second thing you do is make sure that the call center you select is actually as good as you hope that they should be. And then you get a dedicated leasing hotline in the process. Now, some people choose not to do this, and that's fine if they have all their signs with their main number published. But hopefully you've got a auto attendant that answers your main line, and it could say, hey, you've reached ABC Realty. Press 1 to speak with our leasing staff about our properties available to rent. All other callers stay on the line. And so those can then bypass your front desk or your staff. So that's typically it. Then a couple of other tips that I found. We find that transparency in the leasing process is really lacking and very much appreciated, because think about how many calls you get where people say, will you approve me with X? I don't have Y. Will you still rent to me? So we just went ahead and published our rental standards in each rental listing in the remarks section. So our final paragraph is, this is what you will need to rent from us. And by doing that, we tracked a 10% drop in our call volume. And I thought, that works. That works. We saved everybody some time.
Just by adding all of your criteria for being a rental applicant to the bottom of each listing description.
That's just a huge transparent factor. And if you put it there and then make sure you follow it, it's a great way to save some time and some money.
Yeah, great tip. Any other tips?
So once you've done that, we recommend that you really look at the money and the time that you're saving, and decide if you can reorganize or repurpose some of your existing staff to spend less money on your leasing process. I was just talking to somebody today who said, yeah, I'm going to have to repurpose some of my staff now that we've done this. It's been 90 days. We're thrilled. We're not going back. And so now we've got to do some things with our staff. And so that's what I would recommend you do is start thinking about, okay, would this person make a good BDM, or could I transition this person into a property manager? Or the new model is to not have leasing agents that have the listings, but have a leasing director that basically is the orchestra leader. And so the leasing director's role is to see that every property gets listed and marketed, and applications come in and with the recommendations on the screening. They coordinate okay, you're approved conditionally. We're sending you the lease on DocuSign. You need somebody who can move the parts around at that stage, but typically that's not somebody that has to earn a huge commission for that task.
Got it. That's a job. Generally, if you're going to have a commission paid staff, they need to have a direct impact on the outcome, right? Because then the commission could motivate them to do the outcome. But that's typically, people that are pretty highly driven sort of personalities. But support related staff that are typically more into systems, processes, they want safety and certainty. They're like the opposite of us crazy entrepreneurs. They want a job and they want stability. They usually, those kind of high percentages, they don't motivate them any differently. In fact, I find that my staff, they far more feel rewarded in some instances if I believe in them and I notice that they're doing a good job, as opposed to just throwing more money at them. In fact, there's no amount of money you could throw at somebody if they feel like the business owner doesn't like them or they're not doing a good job.
Well, and the simple truth of the matter is that this device is changed the world, because I'm 54. I think you're about 15 years younger.
And for those listening, he's holding up his phone, his cell phone.
Oh yeah, sorry for those who are the iPhone, or the smartphone. And the truth of the matter is, people that are 35 and younger, they're not going to call. They're going to book their showing online. And so if you don't have an online showing option, hurry up and get one so that millennials will like you. If you think erroneously, like some people out there, I had a kind of a high energy conversation with the owner of one of those showing services, who said, no, people just want our software. There's no need for a call center, and why go to all that trouble? And I said, because I'm 53, I am not going to book a showing on an iPhone. I am going to pick up the phone and call. I got great credit. I got strong income. I'd be a good tenant. You're not going to get me if you don't answer the phone. And so there's got to be a way to reach out to the people who want customer service, and there's got to be a way to reach out to people who want technology.
Yeah, that was spoken about at a broker owner conference I was at a couple of years ago, and they were talking about how that's the fastest growing group of renters is the over 50 crowd, or the senior market, and one of the fastest groups, and they're fantastic renters.
And they're awesome if you answer the phone.
Right.
You just got to answer the phone.
Awesome. So Todd, I think this all sounds really great, and it makes a lot of sense for property managers, so that you can shift your focus and the weight and energy of your time, energy, resources, and staff towards growing the business away from kind of the garbage of phone calls and being handled, and do this in a way that really makes your company look even better. So how does somebody get in touch or get started with Todd Breen and Virtually Incredible? How do they connect with you guys?
Well, you could give us a phone, and we might actually answer the call if you call their phone. And you could also send an email to sales@virtuallyincredible.com, and we'd be happy to follow up with you. And we also have another way to spend less time leasing that I'd love to just spend 2 minutes
Please.
sharing. All right. So you're the guy that understands content marketing. One of the best content that we can put out as a business owner is a video. And so if you've ever thought about how to reduce your showings from 5 or 10, just take a minute and think, how many times do we show each listing before it rents? Just put a showing on YouTube. Walk through the property and show it. And we found that reduces days on market, number of calls, because once somebody's seen a video walkthrough tour and they call you, they want to rent the house. And they'll oftentimes meet you in the front yard and say, if it looks anything like the video, we're going to take it. And so that's a great way to accelerate your marketing process, reduce your days on market, reduce your phone calls, reduce your showings. So it's a great efficiency tool. And we've got training on virtuallyincredible.com that'll teach you how to do that. And it'll reduce your call center bill if you use that training and get these video walkthrough tours. We can also put a virtual tour up for you. We'd be happy to tell you more about that.
Awesome. So, yeah, great tip. Including video generally speeds up any sort of sales process or conversion rates on just about any website. So that's a no-brainer. So love it. Well, cool. Anything else that anybody should know?
Yeah, spend less time leasing and get some money spent on a good marketing campaign to grow your business, and get a BDM that really help you grow things. That's the direction we're headed in, and we've helped a lot of people do that.
Awesome, Todd. Appreciate you coming out on the show, and hope some people reach out to Virtually Incredible, have you guys handle it. I've heard fantastic feedback inside the DoorGrow Club. So those of you listening, if you want to check them out or vet them, you can ask around inside the DoorGrow Club. Just go to doorgrowclub.com, and I'm hearing nothing but praise. So kudos to you and your team, Todd.
Okay. Yeah, and I got a couple questions here. One guy says that I look like I've lost weight, and another guy says, do you have any fishing tips? So apparently we've got some fun people watching the show today.
Cool. Well, they can connect with you also inside the DoorGrow Club as well, or connect on Facebook.
Hey, if you're in Florida and you want to go fishing, look me up. I'd love to go out with you anytime.
Awesome. Cool. Todd, thanks again for coming out on the DoorGrow show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Take care.